This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife, feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. For too long, women's serious midlife health issues have been trivialized, ignored, and met with a just deal with it attitude. Many of us have been made to feel ashamed or forgotten. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But here's the powerful truth. It's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI is not just a healthcare provider. It's a women's telehealth clinic founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. What sets MIDI apart? We are the only women's telehealth brand covered by major insurance companies, making high-quality, expert care accessible and affordable for all women everywhere. Our clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. We offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions, from hormonal therapies and weight loss protocols to lifestyle coaching and preventive health guidance. This isn't a one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will join our patients who feel seen, heard, and prioritized. You will find that our mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the health care they deserve. Because we believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It's just the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized, insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.
You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lou Need, and today I am elated and super excited to have a very special guest joining us today, Doug Noll. Now, born with significant disabilities, that did not stop him. We're talking about partial deafness and near blindness. He has defied early challenges to graduate from Dartmouth and becoming a tenacious civil trial lawyer. And he's done this for over 2 years. 2 decades, years. They're talking about decades. He's made a radical pivot in 2000, leaving law altogether to pursue a mission of peace. And we're going to hear all about that looks like. He is a trailblazer in de-escalation. He has dedicated his life to resolving human conflict. And boy, do we have a lot of that. And so his groundbreaking work has transformed lives over diverse settings, from prison to families. So I'm really excited to have him on here, and we can go ahead and unpack some of that stuff. So with no further ado, Doug, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Linade. First of all, I really appreciate being invited onto the show. And I got to say, you have I listen to a bunch of your podcasts, and I'm an addict. You do just an amazing job. I've left a 5-star review on Apple, and I just want all your listeners to do the same thing, because the only way that your show gets noticed is by listeners voting with their reviews and stars. So everybody out there, if you love this show as much as I do, give her your thumbs up 5-star review. Do it right now.
See?
All right. So
he's amazing already. He hasn't even started. He hasn't even said a word about himself. Talk about being humble.
It's all about service to others, right?
Yeah.
So, I want to start with kind of what I do today and then how I got there.
Yeah.
So what I do today is I help people learn how to stop fights and arguments in their lives forever. I'm a professional peacemaker and mediator, and I have a master's degree in peacemaking and conflict studies along with my law degree.
Yeah.
But I've developed a really unique set of skills that we'll talk about here in a minute that allows you to calm any angry person in 90 seconds or less and never have a fight or argument again. So if you're a high-performing individual and you got fights and arguments in your life, or you have difficult conversations, or maybe you have arguments with your intimate partner or with your kids, or you've got some chaos at work, I'm the guy you call to come in and help you learn how to transform all of that stuff.
Tune in, because I was just going to ask you, does it work for spouse?
It works on
marital? Because you will change lives just from this 20 minutes.
But I didn't start there. I didn't start where I am right now. It's not where it all started for me. As you described, I was born with a lot of disabilities. None of them were so severe that they had to put me away somewhere, but they were significant enough to cause me a lot of emotional trauma as a child. But I was blessed with a good mind. And as you said, I went to Dartmouth. And in those days, if you didn't go to med school, you went to law school. So I came back to California, went to law school. And as you said, I embarked on a 22-year career as a civil trial lawyer here in Central California, very successful. But I had mid-career in the late 90s, I sort of took stock of where I was at and recognized that I just wasn't serving very many people as a trial lawyer. And I just said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I learned about this new master's degree program that I mentioned in peacemaking and conflict studies. And I enrolled. And for 3 years, I was a full-time graduate student, 3/4 time law professor, and a full-time trial lawyer.
Wow.
It about killed me.
You're still alive.
I'm still alive, kicking, really healthy. So anyways, couldn't come to agreement with my partners on what to do. So I said, screw it. Gave 1 week's notice, left $10 million on the table, walked away and started my peacemaking practice. And that was really the best decision I've ever made in my life. The one thing I didn't have, Linnead, was the ability to calm people down. And I was getting called into some very high stakes, high emotion conflicts where a lot of money was at stake, but people really hated each other and they would scream and yell and, incipient violence. I mean, it was rough. So I had an insight finally in one of these mediations in 2005, and it was listen to the emotions, don't listen to the words. And when I had people do that, it was magical. Within 10 minutes, everything was calmed down. And within 20 minutes, people were talking and negotiating and working their stuff out, and they were empowered and cool and no more emotion. And it was just a function of listening to what they were feeling, not what they were saying. 2 years later, a brain scanning study came out of UCLA, out of Matthew Lieberman's lab, that showed what happens when you tell somebody what they're feeling. So this just isn't some psychology thing. This is the activity that occurs in our brain. And what Lieberman's study shows is that when you listen to and validate somebody else's emotions, you inhibit the emotional centers of their brain. I know you're an organizational psychologist, so you'll get this. You inhibit the emotional centers of the brain and you reactivate a part of the brain called the right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, which, as you know, is part of the executive function of the brain. And people literally calm down in 90 to 120 seconds. And it works every single time because that's the way our brains are hardwired. It'll work on every single human being without fail.
Yeah. It allows them to rationalize, think, feel heard, feel seen. Yeah.
People need, exactly right. People have a deep need to feel heard, to feel seen, to be validated, and to be understood. And when you do this, the gratitude you get back from people is absolutely phenomenal. People will say, I've never been listened before. Thank you for listening to me. I've never been listened to before like this before.
Yeah. What I hear from you is also that defense mechanism is shut down, right? Because there's no need to prepare or think about what you're going to say because now you understood, you're heard. So your nervous system does relax and you can actually now receive what's being said to you.
That's right. And in fact, that's exactly what I teach. You're looking for 4 autonomic relaxation responses: a nodding of the head, a verbal response like yeah or exactly, dropping of the shoulders, and then a sigh of relief. They've relaxed. Yeah. And the emotion is gone. And now we can go about problem solving or negotiating or doing whatever we have to do. It's amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff. And so this is the 90 second or less. This is the tactics you show with the four different.
So let me just, I don't want to keep you in suspense. Let me tell you how to do it. Yeah. So it's a 3-step process. The first thing you have to do is learn how to ignore those angry words.
Okay.
Now, if you just got to make it white noise. You've heard angry words before. There's nothing new here that you have to listen to. And you have to overcome our cultural programming that tells us we have to listen to people. No, we're not going to listen to them.
I can tune them out.
We're going to ignore those words. It just becomes white noise. Yeah. And what we're then going to do is we're going to empty our minds. We're going to just stop thinking for a moment and just be in presence with this other person and allow our brains to process what emotional experience the other person is having. It turns out that this is another innate ability that we have. It's the ability to read and understand somebody else's emotional experience. And we can do it fast and accurate and effortlessly. The only reason we don't do this is because we have a culture that tells us that emotions are bad, emotions are evil, emotions make us vulnerable. And so we shy away from emotional skills like these, and we never develop this innate ability that we've had for millions of years. There's a whole evolutionary biology behind all of this, why this occurred and why we have it, which is fascinating. I don't have time today to talk about it, but it is really amazing. So we're going to read their emotions. And basically what will happen is once you've got some practice and training, the emotions will immediately come up in your consciousness. And all you say is, you are angry. So imagine a time, Lunid, when you were really upset and angry. Can you just picture a time when that happened?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
An hour ago, couples therapy.
This is how it sounds. This is what affect labeling is all about. So Lunid, you are really angry. You're frustrated. You're pissed off. You feel completely disrespected. You don't feel heard. You feel invisible. And you don't feel appreciated or supported. And you're really anxious and concerned and scared. And you're deeply offended at what's going on here. And you feel a little bit of shame and embarrassment around all of this. And you're sad and distressed and upset because you feel this loss of connection with all of this anger. And at the end of the day, you feel completely abandoned and betrayed and rejected. And you feel unloved and unlovable. I'm looking at you. What did you just experience?
So that candor, that honesty is what we call in psychology and in therapy is that mirroring back what you've heard and not deflecting.
If I can, let's get nuanced about this. That mirroring was the old active listening stuff of Thomas Gordon back in the 1950s. Mm-hmm. Mirroring technically is when I repeat word for word what you've just said. Mm-hmm. This is a form, we don't do it, this is not active listening. This is reflective listening.
Yeah, okay.
And there are 4 levels of reflective listening. One level is mirroring, where you repeat back word for word what somebody has said. And that can only be used when you're checking on a procedure or a recipe or a shopping list or something like that. And you want to make sure the other person gets what you are saying.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's when you're going to use mirroring. Then you do paraphrasing, which I know you're aware of, where you summarize in your own words what the other person has said. Then we have a level of reflective listening called core messaging, where I'm really going to be using metaphor to help you articulate what you're trying to say. Yeah. So use core messaging when people are running all over the place with their words, they're kind of verbal diarrhea, they don't know what they're saying, and you help them find their meaning. And then finally, the deepest level is affect labeling, where I will reflect your emotional experience using a you statement. Notice that there are no I statements in any of this. Yeah. And that's the power of all this stuff.
And then that's the last one you just did that's the reflecting.
Just did affect labeling. And that's the key. When you learn to affect label, everything changes. Yeah. Everything changes.
And into reading the emotion, you can read what's not being said, right? Because 90% of communication is nonverbal.
That's right.
And so we're looking at the frowning of the eyebrows and squinting of the eyes and the arms crossing. That's like a very big, obvious one, but there's some subtle ones.
There's some very subtle ones, and we can do this all automatically. Just again, to go into evolutionary biology, we didn't have language, and we didn't even have the ability to develop language until 230,000 years ago. We had to have 2 genes mutate inside our brains, and our diet had to change as a result of the mastery of fire. So now we could render animal fat and cook grains and make them edible. And that created a huge caloric increase, which all of that allowed for our brain capacity to expand with a massive expansion of the pharyngeal tract, the pharyngeal nerves and muscles, which allowed for language to be developed, which then evolved about 50,000 years ago. How did hominids communicate with each other before we had language?
Yeah, body language.
Body language, emotion.
Yeah.
It's hardwired into us. And we've still got that skill. We just have to learn how to use it. And that's what I teach.
Just remember how to use it, right? Because it should be innate. It's something that
it's like riding a bicycle, right? We can ride a bicycle. It's sort of an innate ability we have to get on a bicycle and ride it, but we have to practice it. We have to learn how to do it. But once we do it, we can do it. It's the same thing with listening to emotions.
Yeah. And now your work has impacted lives. You said from prison to families to corporations.
Right.
Tell us about Prison of Peace Project.
Yeah. I love talking about Prison of Peace. So in 2009, I got a phone call from my dear friend and colleague, Laurel Coffer, who's a lawyer and mediator in Los Angeles. She had received a letter from a woman serving a life sentence without possibility of parole in the largest, most violent women's prison in the world, which was located here in California, in Chowchilla, California, about an hour and 15 minutes from where I live. And Laurel read the letter to me from her mailbox out on her street and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I think we should do this." So fast forward to April of 2010, there we were in prison, never been in prison before, training 15 women, all of them lifers or long-termers, how to become peacemakers and mediators to stop prison violence. And the very first skill we teach them was affect labeling. Mm-hmm. And if I can, let me just share a quick story with you. I didn't realize how powerful this was going to be. But in the 5th week of training, and with that first group of women, we went into this dingy conference room. Believe me, training in prison is not like a corporate training center or a hotel conference center. Mm-hmm. It's pretty dingy and gross.
Yeah.
We walked in, and one of our students, Sarah, was sitting in her chair, and she was quietly sobbing. And so Laurel walked up and kneeled next to her, and I walked up and kept a little bit of a respectful distance. And Laurel said, "Sarah, what's going on?" And she told us this story. She said, I'm serving 18 years of a 25 to life sentence because I killed a family of 4 as a drunk driver. When I came to prison, I had to give my 3-year-old boy up to my sister to raise. I've written him a letter every single week for the 18 years that I've been here. He's never called me. He's never written to me. He's never visited me. The only way that I've ever known about my son is by my weekly phone calls with my sister. Last week after class, when we were really working on affect labeling, I decided to write him a letter, thinking about all the emotions he must have felt over these 21 years about a mother who had completely abandoned him because of her own narcissistic addiction. And so I wrote that letter. And then she paused. And she said, "And today, for the first time, I got a letter back from him."
Wow.
And the letter, she said he was really mad, and he had every right to be. But at the bottom of the letter, he said, "I love you, Mom. I'm bringing my girlfriend and we're going to come visit you in 3 weeks."
Wow. I have chills. Just thinking about it.
And that's when I realized that what we had here was something extraordinarily powerful.
Wow.
So in the Prison Project, we're now international. We're in California, Connecticut, Italy, and Greece. And in California, I think almost 800 life inmates with who were serving life sentences of one type or another, who went through our program, have been released on parole. Not one of them has reoffended.
So you're not just in there to stop prison violence, to minimize it or try to stop it together. You're actually healing these individuals and causing them to heal with the outside world, because now they're reflecting, and the people they left out there that are bitter and angry and upset at them, they're able to kind of connect on an emotional level with them by reflecting on how their actions make them feel.
Well stated. That's exactly correct.
That's powerful.
It's amazing. It's transformative and life-changing. And it certainly changed my life. I mean, I worked in the prisons from 2010 to March of 2020, and then COVID shut down our programming. We pivoted. We ended up filming our entire curriculum, and now we deliver our curriculum on Blu-ray discs, which allows us to do Prison of Peace much more inexpensively and serve a lot more institutions than we could have ever done.
So now you don't physically have to be going to the prison. You don't have to go to prison.
Correct. Don't have to go in anymore, which is fine with me.
Yeah.
They are not pleasant places to be in. I can tell you that.
But then you get to reach the masses that way, right? Because we are going digital. And so
that's right.
Enlarges your platform.
Yeah. And that's what has spun me to doing the work that I'm doing today, which I take all this experience I've had, 20 years plus of teaching this and working with these skills. And now I'm able to teach people how to stop having fights and arguments in their lives forever. I know that's a big claim, but I guarantee it. And it's just amazing how powerful it works. And I've helped so many people, school teachers, law enforcement, senior executives, grandparents estranged from their children and not able to see their grandchildren reuniting.
Yeah.
It's really satisfying work.
Yeah. And I know to learn more about these tactics, we can find out about them in your book, De-escalate.
That's
But
right.
before we talk about your book, I want to tap in a sensitive topic. I want to tap into it in a little bit about emotion and men, because I think this would be a gateway to actually open up that door.
That's
where
right.
it's not emasculating them in any way, where it is safe to go there emotionally because they're not so much looking inward or talking much about their feelings or emotions, but they can actually relate to
That's correct.
Women, their spouse, especially if they're in position of power, right, within organizations.
That's right. So just to tell you about men, we spent 3 years in the women's prison, and then it converted to a men's prison. And then we started teaching men.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, I was in Corcoran State Prison, which you may know is one of the supermax prisons here in California. I walk into the prison block, and then I'm going to this really dank, dark basement-like room, and there are 15 cages in a semicircle around my room. And in each cage is a man shackled, hand shackled and foot shackled. They're all gang members. They've all murdered somebody, and they're coming out of gangs. And I've been assigned the task of teaching them how to be peacemakers to stop prison violence. And I did. Here's what I've learned in all of this. We all, this is a broad statement, but so take it as a broad statement and not true for everybody. Let me just say, many of us suffer from what's known as adult normative alexithymia. Did you ever run across that in your psychology studies? Okay. No. So adult normative alexithymia is the inability to name what emotions you're experiencing. In other words, it's zero emotional intelligence. And alexithymia is a word meaning inability to name emotions. Men suffer from this because we have this cultural programming that says that we're supposed to be rugged individualists and not show any emotion and not do anything. And of course, that is the worst thing you can do to yourself, because we are not rational beings. Yeah. This is the other thing that we have to understand, is that we're taught that what it means to be human is to be rational. Not true. That's a myth that's been perpetrated for 3,000 years. What we know now from neuroscience is that our essential nature is to be emotional. We can't make a decision or engage in a behavior without emotions. Mm-hmm. Everything we do is emotionally driven.
Yeah.
And when we're told, especially as men, that not to feel emotion, that emotions are bad, emotions make us weak, emotions make us exploitable, we suffer. Imagine working in a prison with people who are serving life and long-term sentences, men who've been there because somebody died, and teaching them these ideas and watching them transform themselves as they begun to see the power of affect labeling and naming emotions, both their own and others. It was so liberating for them and so powerful. And that's part of the reason why many of them that we trained were able to get released from parole, because they completely changed who they were as human beings, because they tapped into their emotions. The other thing that I like to teach is the paradox of Tai Chi. I'm a second degree black belt in a Northern Chinese Kung Fu, and I'm also a Tai Chi master. And in Tai Chi, there's a paradox that says the softer you are, the stronger you are, the more vulnerable you are, the more powerful you are. And this work that I do now, it just embodies that paradox. And it's so true.
Why do you think that is? Is it because you are now going inward and finding your strength inward and not feeling shamed or judged by outside, not letting outside forces control how you truly feel? I'm curious.
That's part of it. But I think that the big part of it is that I've learned that to be emotional is to be normal. Mm-hmm. And to watch other people have emotional experiences is normal. And knowing that I can be with people who are extremely angry or grief-stricken or even happy and excited, I can be in their presence, recognize the emotions they're experiencing, and if I choose to, label those emotions for them so they feel deeply heard, all the while maintaining a calm, compassionate, confident presence. You could come at me screaming mad and just vile insults at my face, and it will not bother me in the slightest. I'll sit there and just name your emotions until you calm down, and then I'll find out what the problem is. Mm-hmm. And once you learn that skill, you recognize the truth of that Tai Chi paradox. And you no longer have to defend yourself. You no longer have to get defensive. You no longer have to have anxiety.
Yeah.
It changes your life. And for men, it's changed men's lives that I worked with, and I worked with a lot of men, both inside of prison and out, completely changed their lives. They have more intimate relationships. They, as leaders, they have instant loyalty and trust with people that follow them. They have high emotional intelligence, and they're happier.
Yeah. It puts putting yourself aside.
That's
or
right.
your argument aside. You're not really trying to get your point across. I heard this one thing one time that says, seek to understand and rather seek to, you know that quote?
I do.
Then rather than trying to be understood, try to seek to understand rather than being understood.
That's correct.
And that's what that does.
That's right. And when you engage in this process of affect labeling, of listening to and validating emotions, it's totally about you serving the other person. And your total focus has to be on what they're experiencing and reflecting back what they're experiencing. There is no room for ego here. So you don't worry about your own stuff. Now, if this presents problems, what happens when you have a really strong need to be heard? Well, there are ways around that that I teach. But most importantly, it is listening to others in the way that they need to be heard so they feel validated and they can calm down. And that is extremely empowering to do that.
Yeah, and I'm happy to hear that there is a strategy out there. So let's talk about your book, De-escalate, and some of the, it's helped thousands, of course, but some of the methods in there.
So De-escalate came about as a result of the prison project. I had a whole bunch of inmates. De-escalate was my fourth book. My fifth book is coming out next year on leadership empathy. But De-escalate came about because I had all of my students, incarcerated students, asking me to write a book that they could tell their families about, because they were learning all these skills and they really couldn't explain to their families what they were learning because they're usually limited only to a 15-minute phone call a week.
Yeah.
And so I wrote the book, and I wrote it in 2016, knocked it out really fast, submitted it to Simon & Schuster, my publisher, and after Thanksgiving, and it got published the next fall, September of 2017. And today it's in 3 or 4 languages.
Wow.
We got in all the languages, and it's done really well. It is basically the handbook on how to do this. And you can get it off Amazon, or any good bookseller will have the book. And that's the book that if you're interested in getting an idea of what this is all about and learning the story of how this all developed, then the book is really useful.
Yeah, I could find it being very helpful, because it's one thing to reflect back what you heard of the person's emotion, but it's when you become this person who always does that, and when it's your turn to be heard, you're hoping it gets reciprocated, right? And It may not always happen. And I feel like your book, the methods that you have, will show you how to still amicably do it and get your point across, so the other person can you can calm the nervous system of the other person so that they can actually hear you. And
that's right. So the mantra that I use, de-escalate, then problem solve. The mistake that everybody makes is they try to problem solve to try to calm people down. And what does that do? It makes them...
It escalates.
It escalates. It always does.
Yeah.
So we've got to de-escalate, and then we can problem solve. And we de-escalate by listening to and reflecting people's emotions. Yeah. And it only takes a minute or two, and it costs you nothing to do it. A minute, 2 minutes of your time to calm somebody down.
Yeah.
And you're giving this priceless gift of listening other people into existence, which is unbelievable.
Yeah. And when you get real good at it, you become untouchable, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take that long to master this. Typically, it takes about 8 weeks.
Wow. Nice. So tell us about your morning routine. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
So I get up in the morning, and I get to go sit out in the hot tub with a cup of coffee and watch the sun come up over the mountains. And usually it's with my wife. And the first question we ask each other is, how'd you sleep? What are you feeling right now? And so we immediately tap into what we're feeling. Most of the time it's contentment, and it's sort of neutral. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's anxiety. Sometimes it's a little bit upset, but not often. And then we will affect label each other. So my practice, what I would recommend to people, is when you get up in the morning, most people probably have to rush, but just think about, what do I feel right now? What emotions am I experiencing? And most of the time, it's going to be pretty neutral and pretty quiet if you had a good night's sleep. But you might feel anxiety. You might feel stress. You might feel anger. You might be happy. Label it. Say, I feel happy right now. I'm a little pissed off. Then I want you to think about, as you go through the day and you think about all the things that are going to happen during the day, how are you going to respond to the emotions of the people around you? And it may not be that you're confronted with crazy anger, but you might be confronted with people who are stressed or unhappy or distressed in some way. How are you going to respond to that? And how can you respond to it in a way that makes them feel heard and allows you to listen them into existence? And just rehearse in your mind what you would say. The whole thing, that whole practice will take you 30 seconds. And then as you go through the day, you'll find, once you get this down, that you'll just be doing this automatically. And you'll be throwing pebbles into the pond of peace wherever you go.
That's fantastic. What else do you partake in for your morning ritual?
Okay, so I get up and, we have our coffee, and then typically I'm at my desk pretty early. I'm usually at my desk by 7 o'clock, I work from my home office, and I, like everybody else, back-to-back Zoom calls through the day. So it keeps me pretty busy. But for fun, in the wintertime, I ski at least 2 days a week. Now that it's summertime here, we have a racing cat up at a high mountain lake, Huntington Lake. So we go up there on the weekends and spend a half a day just sailing around the lake. And I love to read and play. I play jazz violin. So I got lots to keep me busy when I'm not working.
Yeah, it keeps you young, keep you youthful, right?
Keep me young, absolutely. Keeps me sharp.
Keep you learning. Now, you said this is your 5th book. It's coming out. So tell us, where can we connect with you? Where can we find that when it comes out next year?
Well, yeah, it'll be coming out right now. I think it's going to be September of 26. So it's way, way out there. Most people will completely forget about it until then. It's going to be on leadership empathy, and I'm basically taking these skills and showing leaders how to use these skills to build dynamic teams and how to stop toxicity on their teams. So that's what that's all about. And obviously actively promoting that book next year. So I haven't even been assigned an area yet. I just turned the manuscript in a couple of weeks ago. So we're just at the beginning process of going through the whole publication process,
Yeah. And if we want to connect with you, where can we find you? Where can we find De-escalate?
You can find me at dougnoll.com or doug@dougnoll.com. I do have a quick little offer for people. It's called my Peace Under Pressure Kit. It's for anybody, high-performing individuals, couples. You've got this conflict, you've got fights and arguments, you've got difficult conversations, you need help, you want to learn how to do this. If you DM me on LinkedIn, at my handle is at Douglas Noll, Noll. I'll connect with you. And my Peace with Pressure Kit consists of 2 things. One, it's a really cool de-escalate advisor that we've set up in ChatGPT, and it's really pretty effective how it works. You type in your problem and it'll tell you what to say. And the other thing that I'm offering is I've unlocked my dealing with anger and aggression online video course. It's a 4-week course. Normally I sell it for $800. It's absolutely free to your listeners. And you get both of those. Just DM me. We'll become friends, and I'll get your email address from you and I'll send this stuff to you. So it's the Peace Under Pressure Kit, absolutely free, the De-escalate advisor, the online anger and aggression course, and just DM me at Douglas Noll on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Just keeps giving. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for sharing that with our listeners. It's been such a pleasure and joy having you on today, Doug. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenny. You are a wonderful host.
Amazing.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,